welcome to MidWeek. And once again, I have some incredible guests, and I want to welcome James and Thressa Brand. You are here. You commuted quite a ways to be here today. And the commute was how many, 2,700 miles?
We like to count in hours, so it was about a 30-hour journey from house there to house here. So
30-hour journey.
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys are where?
Now we're living in Staten. Happy to be in Oregon now.
Okay.
Yeah.
On a little respite. But you are primarily, your family is in Cambodia.
Yes. We've been serving in Phnom Penh in Cambodia for the last 5 years.
And tell us a little bit about James or Thressa, your family. Who's with you all? I mean, you moved everybody with you.
Well, we're serving at Hope International School with our children, so they go to school with us there. And that's Megan. She is 18 and just graduated from Hope and is headed to Azusa Pacific in Southern California, where she'll study music composition and humanities. And then we have Isaac, who is 16, and he is here. He's going to study online first semester and then catch back up with Hope School. And then we have Nicole, who's 14, and Mark, who's 12. They will homeschool this year and then jump back in at Hope.
Wow. How long have you guys been at the school? And give us a little bit of the roles. They've grown, especially Thressa, yours. But you primarily went over there to do what? You're in the finance area.
Yes, trained in Oregon in government agencies in budget and finance. So God prepared me for that. And so I serve as the chief financial officer at the school. So 5 years of doing that in my role in administration.
Wow. And Thressa, what have you been doing?
I have been teaching high school Bible and sometimes a little bit of middle school. The students all need to take their Bible class. It's a requirement of the school. We serve primarily Christian students, but I'd say about 20% of our students are non-Christians.
And what's their background? Are they government related? Are, those 20%? Where do they come from? I mean, the Christians are predominantly missionary kids, right?
Yes, the focus of the mission and vision of the school is for the mission community. So most of the students are from that community that we serve. And then there are some Khmer, Cambodian students there, and from other nationalities as well. So they're the upper middle class or more well-to-do that can afford the tuition. But,
and so you might have some other government-related or business-related individuals who...
Mostly business
who love your school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know in a lot of Christian schools internationally, to be honest with you, even non-Christian business people often choose your schools because, candidly, they're probably excellent.
Yeah, and they also like the morality.
Yeah.
Although they confess Buddhism, but they like the morality of our school. So they're open to their kids, and then they get to hear the gospel often. So it's a great opportunity.
So that's a really cool part of reaching the world for Christ is, the ones that God brings to you. I'm sure, I didn't ask you this before, but there's multiple different mission organizations that send their kids to your school. Give us a picture of what is God doing in Cambodia and the surrounding countries. You're hearing from all kinds. Church planters, probably some linguists, others. What's happening out there in the sphere that you guys serve?
Yeah, a little bit of everything, like you said, and a lot of different nationalities represented. So just about probably 5 or 6 continents I know are represented in our school, over 30 nationalities among 300 students. So it's very diverse. And yeah, God is doing amazing things in the school. And through that community, there is a lot of discipleship and church planting, as well as human trafficking issues that they're taking care of. And there's multiple different organizations represented that we serve in that community.
Yeah, Cambodia is the most open, or maybe one of the only open countries in Southeast Asia. And by open, we mean free to share the gospel without fear of imprisonment or capture or detainment. All of the surrounding countries are much harder, even closed, even dangerous to share the gospel. And so Cambodia is really an open door, a gateway to Southeast Asia and even into China, as there are really a lot of Chinese who have come to Cambodia for business opportunities, and they can hear the gospel in Cambodia and hopefully take it with them. Also, Cambodia is a great place to send people out into surrounding countries where they know it's going to be a little bit harder to reach them.
That's a lot of the same as there's a huge conglomerate of Christians in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And so you guys are kind of serve as a hub. Yeah. They have a large Christian school there too, much like you guys, and it becomes the hub of all of the sending areas. So I'm sure on a regular basis you're hearing of God's work into Southeast Asia. There's a couple of things, Thressa, I'll start with you, that God is kind of laying on your heart. You've been there 5 years. You are beginning to, well, you're through culture shock, more likely than not. You are now in the adaptation stage, and you're beginning to see things that those first years you just didn't see. And one of them for you is the area of communication. How has God led you, and maybe some future things we can be praying for you in particular, and we'll come to James in a minute. What are some of the things that you have in your future?
Thanks. Well, I'm really passionate about evangelism. I was passionate about that here, and I continue to be at Hope International School, where I think probably at least 20% of my students are not believers. And to be honest, many of them don't want to believe. Their parents have told them not to become Christians. They go to our school because it offers a certain program that they want. And they're hard to reach, and they're hard to explain the gospel. I have learned the hard way over the course of a few years that the language that I use isn't working in my international classroom. And so most of my students are Asians. A lot of them are Christians, and they know vocabulary maybe in another language, in Korean especially. And so I can teach the Bible to them. They know their stories, maybe in a different language, and communicate okay. But the ones who have no church background at all, I've found it really challenging to speak to them in a way that they understand, and especially the concept of salvation by grace through faith alone. It's not even a consideration in Cambodian culture because of karma and the whole idea of you get what you deserve and that sort of thing. And so I have had to really begin to study a lot more. In fact, I decided to go ahead and finish a master's degree in theological studies after a couple years at Hope. And I focused my thesis on atonement theology in Cambodian culture. And I learned a lot about how a different mindset, a different worldview thinks about things like atonement. And it's caused me to change my vocabulary. But there's so much that I don't know and I don't understand. And for me, as one person in that role, I really would like to get to the point where I can also share what I've learned with others. And so I'd like to continue studying so that I can be better able to communicate interculturally and also help others jump into that role more quickly, where it's taken me way too long to figure it out.
That's so good. James, how about for you? You're here for how much longer in the States?
Yeah, till the end of December.
End of December. Then you guys head back as a family. And what's ahead for you? Same role for you?
You'd think so, but there's been some reorganization done just in the administration department, and so my role is actually not going to be there anymore. The jobs will still be there, so there's an opportunity for me to maybe change the role a little bit. And also, if things don't work out so well at Hope School, I feel like God could use me in other areas in Cambodia as well. In the area of finance, still there's many organizations and people that come with vision and they start a ministry and they just don't have the business background maybe. So I'm thinking of possibly doing some consulting work in the area of business and finance, budget, that sort of thing, to help these other organizations establish themselves and really, thrive and have a good foundation that they can focus on the ministry stuff, and then I can, help them behind the scenes maybe.
I bet that becomes really particularly a need in some of those more closed countries, because business's mission is oftentimes the entry point. So I hope God leads you in that way. It's going to be great. Thanks so much for you guys being here. We are so delighted to learn from you and have you involved with our family for these days. So God bless you guys. Thanks for coming. Hey, this weekend, I wanted to remind you, we're going to be having an annual business, or not an annual business meeting, but a business meeting right after the service. It has one subject, and that is whether or not we as a church should purchase that MAPS building across the street, across Union. Again, the price was $425,000, and that was certainly a validation number by our realtor and by what things are going for, so you know that. And secondly, that money has already been donated. So it's not a matter of we're going into debt for anything. We're just asking the church permission, because that's what our church Constitution requires, and we gladly do that. So that's going to be this weekend. Look forward to having you here. And by the way, if you can't make it and you want to vote, you can come into the office and pick up a ballot and be a part of that. Thanks so much. Again, thanks to the Brands. Thanks for joining us on Midweek. Have a great week, and we'll see you this weekend.